The custom knife you have selected will now enter the laser cutting process. I start with removing the proper steel off the rack, placing it on the pallet changer, upload the program for that specific blade, then loading it into the laser. Upon retrieving the third part cut, I check with the spec sheet and measure it with calipers to make sure it falls within the tolerance. If it falls within tolerance, I then run the program. Then I remove the sheet from the laser, knock out the certain blade, take it to the belt sander, remove all laser splatter and microjoint. I then take the part to Johnny to surface grind.
The custom knife that you have selected is now going through our surface grind process. We send it through a grinding machine, which has an oil-based coolant in it. The oil-based coolant makes sure that the parts that are cooled off, they don't get hot and they don't get burned. So we pull one from each side, we check them with a micrometer, and we have to be within a thou. We grind both sides evenly to make sure that we get the perfect nominal that you need for your customer.
Glenn Leichner, laser cutting technician, 6 years.
Johnny Moore, surface grinder technician, 7 years.
The custom knife that you have selected is now entering the blade mill process. I begin the milling process by getting your blade. I set up the machine. What the machine is doing at that point is doing a rough around the edges of the tang and a finish, and then it drills out the center pivot hole. After that, I will take the blade out of the machine. I'll measure out your blade and make sure it's within specs. I'll check it with a go, no-go gauge. I'll then remove the burrs and move it on to the next operation, which is the bevel.
The custom knife you have purchased is now entering the blade beveling process. The beveling process takes a blank that's a dimension of 99 thou thick. It takes it down to a cutting edge to where we can sharpen it. After the bevel grinding is done, I've done a precise check with my micrometer to make sure it's in tolerance of our PCI specs, and then I moved it to the next step of the operation, which would be back sanding in the finish area. Russell Yoder, blade beveling technician, 16.5 years.
Tim Carlton, blade milling technician, 5 years.
The custom knife you have selected is now entering the back sanding process. I start by selecting the right fixture, and then I sand the back of the blade to where it's smooth. When I'm done back back sanding the blade, I bring it over to finishing. In finishing, we stone wash it, and the bike machine starts cleaning the blade up. The media itself is a ceramic base, so it's not too aggressive on the blade and gives it a more polished look. The finishing is the last step before it goes to be laser marked. Daniel Esmond, back sanding technician, 8 years.
The custom knife that you have selected will now enter the assembly process. I begin the assembly process by receiving all parts, blades, handles, liners, and I assemble them using the turn parts that I received from the warehouse. Something we refer to as a Benchmade puck that goes inside of all of the small grips. It aligns everything and gets everything synced together. We put Loctite on all of our screws so that we are ensured that those screws stay within the knife. Every knife after assemble, I check for blade play, referred to as side to side or up and down. When the knife is complete, I then send it down to sharpening.
Once I grab the knife from assembly, I inspect it, look at the knife, make sure everything's all good. I'll grind it an even bevel on the back side of the knife. Then I'll switch sides, grind another bevel on the front to match the back. Cutting tests, I test cut on foam book paper to make sure there's no burrs or no flat spots. It has to glide through perfectly. Most important part of my job here at Benchmade is making sure that it's really sharp every time.
Lindsay Shepard, assembly technician, 2 years.
Jeff Klaus, sharpening technician, 3 years.